The year is 1690. Hey James, you know what I feel like doing? What's that, William? Marching thousands of men to a river in Ireland to settle a major geopolitical and religious dispute. Wow, great idea. And who might this major geopolitical and religious dispute be with? You. Oh. Right, makes sense. The Battle of the Boyne featured three powerful kings in 17th century Europe. James II, William III, and Louis XIV? Yes, by proxy. See, Louis XIV of France, also known as the Sun King, was power hungry and desperately wanted to expand France's possessions in mainland Europe. The problem for Big Louis was the other European powers didn't like these expansionist policies very much, and would soon join forces against the French. But it wasn't all bad. Louis would soon find an ally in the recently deposed King of England, James II. Both were Catholic, and importantly, both saw Ireland as the perfect place to launch a counterattack against the guy who deposed James II. There were a few factors in why James lost the throne to joint monarchs William and Mary, but in the quickest way I could put it, a persisting fear among the English elite of a Catholic succession, heightened by the birth of his son in 1688, and conflict with Parliament culminating in William of Orange being invited to take the English throne alongside his wife and James's own Protestant daughter, Mary. Ouch. That's gotta hurt. So, James, how are you enjoying your new life in exile? France is pretty cool, right? I want my throne back, Louis. Okay. Louis didn't take much convincing, and in March 1689, James landed in Cork, alongside some French troops ready to launch a campaign to regain his throne, thus beginning the Williamite War in Ireland. Interestingly, the Battle of the Boyne was the first and only time William and James would face off against one another on the same battlefield. The objectives of the two kings can be characterised as such. For William, the need to secure his place on the English throne and prevent France from using Ireland as a means to attack England. Meanwhile, James viewed Ireland as a strategic base to launch a counter-revolution and regain the English throne for himself. It is worth noting at this point that you may often hear the terms Jacobites and Williamites. These were supporters of either king. Leading up to the Boyne, the Williamites had enjoyed two military victories in Ulster, at the Siege of Derry and at the Battle of Newtown Butler in Fermanagh. These events in 1689 all but ensured Williamite control of Ulster, and with William landing near Belfast in 1690, the stage was set for a historic battle. With William and his army marching south from Ulster, the River Boyne was chosen as the defensive line for the Jacobites, as it was considered the last major natural barrier to Dublin. William and his army reached the Boyne on June 29th, occupying the north bank of the river, with James and his army occupying the south bank of the river, just 30 or 40 metres away from each other. There was still just enough time for William to have a near miss when a cannonball grazed his shoulder, but once he assured his men that he had in fact survived, the battle was ready to commence the following morning. July 1st, 1690. Rather than launching an attack at the main crossing at Oldbridge, the Williamite attack began further west at Rossnaree. The aim of this flanking manoeuvre was to force James to send some of his best army away from the defensive position at Oldbridge, thus leaving it in an exposed position. Under pressure, James made the decision to send the bulk of his army to Rossnaree to aid the regiment of Sir Neil O'Neill in containing the Williamite attack, but fighting gradually ceased as both sides were bogged down by the marshy terrain. Now at Oldbridge, William outnumbered James by 20,000 men, 26,000 to 6,000. The artillery bombardment began at 8 am, but William wasn't able to cross because the Boyne is tidal and the water was too high to cross. So there you have it, the finest armies in Europe halted by a medium-sized Irish river. It was 10 o'clock when the assault began across the river. Fierce fighting ensued as the Irish infantry engaged with the Dutch Blue Guards. There was heavy losses on both sides, as the very capable Irish cavalry held the line against the Williamites. But as more and more of William's men crossed the river, the gap in troop numbers was beginning to show. James's men, already outnumbered, were being stretched thinner and thinner, and the Jacobite infantry began to be pushed back. After the final stand at Dunor was eventually broken, the Jacobites were sent on the retreat further south towards Duleek. A tactical withdrawal soon became a mass panic as discipline broke down and many soldiers deserted. James's retreat from the Boyne all but confirmed that his hopes to recover his place on the English throne were futile. Before long, he had boarded a French ship, never to return to Ireland. William entered Dublin unopposed, and the Jacobites moved west to regroup and fight another day. The war was concluded with the signing of the Treaty of Limerick in October 1691, with Patrick Sarsfield negotiating the surrender of the Irish Jacobite army following a bloody defeat at the Battle of Aughrim. Around 14,000 soldiers departed for France following this treaty, and this became known as the Flight of the Wild Geese. And many would go on to feature prominently in European wars and in the armies of France, Spain, and Austria. The term wild geese today came to describe any Irish soldiers serving in foreign armies over the next few centuries, and holds great symbolism in Irish history, often remembered with great pride and great sorrow, representing a lost generation of fighters forced to flee due to religious and political oppression, highlighting the absence of armed struggle at home during that time. Thanks for watching.